Stadium, and it is a share of the spoils for both teams. It finished Manchester City 1, Manchester United 1. A draw in the end, Karen. Do you think, on reflection of the 90 minutes, is that a fair result? Of course, we wanted the win, but does that feel kind of fair for the game?
I think the second half from City was exceptional. I think that's kind of been a theme throughout this season so far for us, is that we've struggled to put a full 90-minute cohesive performance together. However, going down a goal, not really playing to our strengths at moments in the first half, I thought it was a good recovery, and we had loads more chances. So it's just a shame we couldn't convert them, but ultimately, yeah, I thought, it's a fair reflection of how the game went, I think.
Yeah, speaking of that kind of change, did you say, Nedum, was there anything that you'd clocked that City started doing differently in that second half that they didn't in the first? Because we really did come out of the blocks and started so strong.
It's tough. I think some of the stuff in terms of playing through the lines, I think they did do that better. Some of the midfielders were getting on the ball. And, it was kind of what I was hoping for at half-time, where they were giving the ball to, say, Chloe Kelly higher and Lauren Hemp higher after just, creating better isolations and stuff. So I think maybe there was a hint of that. But then also, as Karen was saying at half-time, there is a thing about having a lead which makes you play differently. Mm-hmm. You can say everything's the same, but when you've got something that you need to hold on to, maybe you'll take a step back. And I think City basically capitalised upon that. And I think they had better possession in better areas. City were more aggressive. And for United, they almost accepted that's fine because for the time they had the lead. Mm-hmm. And then I think once it then went to 1-1, it's very hard for them to then switch the mentality again to try and find more. So I think for City, it was just a really good second half. And, the result 1-1 seems semi-fair. It seemed semi-fair, but I can't picture spells in that game where it felt like United dominated, whereas for the City perspective, I feel like they did. But then you look at the other side of it realistically, and there's a great save from Ellie, and United had one or two moments which felt very dangerous because there was a lot of stress in this very viewing platform here. So,
yes.
So maybe in the end you look at it and say, yeah, 1-1 is fair. But I think both sides will feel a sense of disappointment about it.
That chasing of the result as well being 1-0 down, and one thing I mentioned to you, Karen, was that something the press that we'd spoke about, we'd seen it in little kind of bits in the first half, really came into fruition in the second half. And we started winning the ball really high up, didn't we? And that made a massive difference.
Absolutely. It looked like, Castellanos had a rocket up her. She was zipping around trying to press, and I think it just seemed like there was more intention and there's a bit more clarity around what was exactly needing to happen in that second half. So whether they said just like you set the press and then everyone else kind of takes the lead off that, it seemed like the distances were being closed. It seemed like everyone was higher up the pitch, and it seemed like a bit more front-footed in terms of we're all on the same page. The turnover is probably going to happen, and we're all in advanced positions already. So I think with the addition of, not the addition, but Lauren Hemp was obviously higher up, allowing the fullbacks to get higher, and then obviously the midfield to shift across and support. It just seemed more effective and efficient. So there weren't any massive changes. It was just the execution of the role was just better.
Yeah, and I guess that was kind of what we were talking about at half-time, where Gareth would have had his chat, but the players would have known actually there was just tiny little things that needed to change. Yeah, and then just putting that into practice.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, I think as a player, the more you play, you know when something's not going right. And the half-time break is a good time to really reflect and speak to people around you to know how to try and rectify it.
Yes.
Because you know yourself how you're playing, but you also know, I have a better idea now of how the opposition are playing. So it's a good chance to reset and to sort of figure out what needs to be done. I think in that second half they were exceptional. I think they pressed United a lot better, which forced United to go long. And in fairness to United, they didn't really take as many risks around the back as, say, other teams would have done. But also the way that they swept up around the back was exemplary.
Yes.
And, they were always essentially half a yard ahead because they almost made United predictable at times. And I think that sort of understanding of the game, understanding of the opponent, it's what caused them to be better in the second half, I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. And in that second half, I think it was around 10 minutes in, and she got man of the match here in the stadium. A great goal from Coombsy, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. There she is, popping up again, exactly where she needs to be. And again, just one of those players, obviously we highlighted her before the game, but still doesn't seem to get the awards and the acclaim that she deserves. So I was absolutely buzzing to see her get back on the score sheet because she just puts in the hard yards and puts herself in the right areas to kind of, seize those opportunities. But you have to give a lot of credit. I think Chloe whipped in a few crosses that weren't necessarily as effective as that one that actually led to the goal. But then the run from Khadija Shaw, across the near post, kind of isolated. I think it was Laetitia, and there were numerical overloads coming through the middle, at waves throughout the second half. And I think that was just one example of obviously Laura Coombs getting on the end of it. But again, several opportunities where that could have happened.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to ask you, Nathan, you asked you, is there anyone you were looking forward to seeing? It's so great to see Shaw live. Her hold-up play is brilliant. Her strength is something else great touch as well. But was there anyone else that stood out to you today on the pitch, Nathan?
I think in the second half, I liked the midfield a bit more because they controlled the game, it felt like. I thought Hasegawa was playing well. I thought she was linking the play well, breaking things up when she needed to. I think that was good, but overall, I was, sitting out there with my friends, and it's really good, isn't it? I'm like, well, yeah, this is what it is. These are some of the best players in the world playing at the highest level against each other for not the first time, but they deserve to be in this moment, to be in this situation, going up against each other. And you see the real quality. And someone said, it's different to the men's. And I said, yeah, but I've played with lots of men who will be nowhere near it when it comes down to the standard that we've just seen there.
Yes.
This is elite professional women's football, and it's very, very good. And everyone that falls in line with that, even when they're not at their absolute best, the standard is still so high. And as you get a feel like the game's going on, you notice the ebb and flow, you notice the quality of the decision making, the passing, the dribbles, the little technical boring things that no one really cares about, the sweeping up, the timing of it. There's a lot of stuff that goes on which most people don't pay attention to, and that's why I gave kind of a boring answer to sort of what I saw from the game. But there are lots of people out there who would have loved to have played with, because the way they read the game and play it, it's second to none. Second to none,
yeah. It was a great display there, and it really opened up as well, didn't it? And I mean, there was that moment which I wanted to ask you. That save from Roebuck was massive, wasn't it?
Yeah, on both ends we saw it ended up being a highly transitional game in the second half, and I thought we saw some exceptional goalkeeping, especially off the save from Mary Earps and Khadija Shaw's header. I think she did so well to kind of adjust her body to even get her head on that opportunity. And the fact that Mary Earps, I thought it was quite interesting that she was as deep as she was, gave her a bit more reaction time. And obviously she was on the goal line, but essentially body behind the ball, same sort of thing, nice and safe from her in terms of a technical goalkeeping, geeking out perspective. So that was really good, but a big appreciation for Bunny Shaw to be able to do that. But yeah, the other end, Ellie Roebuck, reaction save, ball's moving, body's coming across, to make sure that you're kind of in a position where you're big enough, but you're still kind of grounded, that you can change direction. It was let's be honest, the chance probably shouldn't have happened. Yeah. But she dealt with it really, really well. Yeah,
it was so important, that big save. And as well, Nathan, I'll come to you. There was some great little last-ditch tackles as well. I mean, there was one even at the end there, Alex Greenwood as well.
You're talking like that's all I care about. Don't be like that.
No,
I love goals, my friend. I love goals.
Listen, we know I've seen you score them as well.
This is true. No, for me, it was really good. You don't ever want to be last-ditch, but when you are last-ditch, you want people to be fully committed to it, and they definitely were that today. And I've got to say, it's at both ends, because there's some element about football where you want it to be nice, you want it to be on a tactics board, moving beautifully, but then at some point you need to show commitment. You have to show a huge desire to stop the ball, go into your goal. And they definitely did that today, and I do kind of enjoy it.
Yeah,
I do enjoy it because it's the only thing I can relate to. but yeah, it was very, very impressive. But then again, I'm not really surprised.
No, not at all. So 1-1. Obviously, we knew 3 points was really going to close the gap. But of course, as we always say, you don't want to lose it. Looking now ahead for the rest of the season now for our women's team, there's the Continental Cup as well. Do you think this is going to be a result that can really help push them on, do you think, KB?
Yeah, I think so. I do think so. Obviously, playing at home, we want to obviously play as well as we possibly can and kind of defend, our own turf, I suppose.
Yes.
And kind of take that momentum forward. But the thing is, the performances need to continue to improve, So, yeah, we want results, but you need to see that continual improvement over the course of the rest of the season. But perfect opportunity, Conti Cup, to win some trophies, kind of get that silverware, get the belief, back into the players. And just that winning feeling always feels really, really nice. So I think this was always going to be that moment that everyone hoped went really well, but it could potentially have been a bit of a banana skin.
If it could have gone the other way, yeah.
So I think the girls will be really happy. They'll be a bit disappointed that, some of the opportunities they conceded to United came from our own mistakes, So I think those are the things that need to be tidied up. But yeah, going forward, I think there was some really good football today. And that second half is just one example of what they can do, so they know they can put, you know, a really good performance together. Now it just needs to be from start to finish.
From start to finish. But and I guess as well, I think it's important to say, because we were even chatting about it here in the studio, you know, this is still a very fresh and new team, Nedum, and they have settled in brilliantly. But I guess that consistency in doing it over 90 minutes will come the more that they play together.
Yeah, I totally agree. And don't get me wrong, you know, there's a nature about football where you're not always guaranteed to be able to play well. But then some of those teams, as we saw yesterday at the World Cup, sometimes it's just about getting the result. And I think in time you sort of get a feel of how to do that. You know, some of the games that you walk away from, you might walk away thinking you didn't deserve a win, but still, lo and behold, you do get one. And I think for this side here, I think they're good. But the beauty of it is they know they can get better. You know, there are other sides out there who are good, who are basically at their ceiling right now.
Yes.
I think the ceiling for this group of players could be a lot higher than people realise. But it's about the journey to get there.
Yes.
How do they do it? How do they stay focused? How do they keep improving individually and collectively?
Yeah.
But if the right people are in play, then, you know, I think it's more than possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Sky's the limit. And just looking at the next games here, so in the Continental Cup, we'll be taking on Leicester away, and then we're away to West Ham in the WSL. That's January the 15th, and then January 22nd, home at Aston Villa. So definitely worth getting your tickets for that. Speaking of tickets, and let me just come to my notes here because I don't want to get this wrong. We said that this was going to be a history-making game. We said it was going to be record-breaking, and it was, because the official number of people here in the stadium, what a moment for the club and for women's football in general. 44,259 people here in the stadium. And we could feel it here in the stadium, but Karen, I guess it can't be overstated just how big and important that is.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, just being here, you know, and watching the stadium fill up, and, you know, to see, you know, so many bodies just enjoying the game regardless of what was going on. It was a big moment. You know, it's a sign of things to come, obviously. And to your point earlier, you know, attendances have gone up 200% across the WSL, you know, off the back of, you know, the Euros. And so people, there's an appetite for it, which is the really exciting thing. And getting someone here for maybe the first time and having this experience and normalizing it is a huge thing for us in terms of, you know, whether it's media coverage or just growing interest and growing like those grassroots movements and inspiring people to show that, yeah, if you want to, you can have a career in football.
Yeah.
Like, wow, how cool is that?
Yeah.
So, yeah, huge moment, not just, you know, in terms of the result and managing things, but going forward in terms of building a legacy off the back of the Lionesses, and, you know, what City have invested in the women's game is huge.
Yeah, it's absolutely massive. I mean, even now as well, there's still so many young fans that are just waiting to try and get some signings, trying to get some shirts as well. And I think that was one of my favourites part of today. I mean, you know, we have the family atmosphere on a normal game day, but it was in particular, I felt it was really kind of evident here, Nedum, and seeing so many, I mean, all young fans, particularly young girls that were able to watch that in a full stadium. And we said about the junior citizens as well. That representation you spoke about, it is just golden, isn't it?
It matters 100%. I think even to talk about my experience here, so I've got an 8-year-old daughter, and she was watching the England game with me yesterday, and she was like, okay with it. But then when I was sitting with her during this game, she's like, come on, City. You know, she's getting really excited about it.
That's amazing.
And like, where was this yesterday? Maybe hearing a bit of this yesterday as well. But, you know, maybe this matters more to her because she sees people that are just like her out there on the field.
Yes.
And sees the crowd, sees 40-something thousand people coming to watch women play football. Like, maybe in her mind she thought football was a men's sport, but she sees now that football is a sport for all. You know, this stuff goes a long, long way. And the best thing about this, like, this game itself, for how good it was, for the crowd, for the timing, like, it's memorable. You know, you'll always be able to fall back on this. This is a really positive memory for so many. And as you were saying there, the people went behind to see the players. You might not necessarily get a chance to do that in other sort of stadiums at other times in other leagues. This is sort of like the unique nature of women's sports sometimes. It feels a lot more intimate and like you're with them, you know what I mean? And people would have had a good time even if City would have lost today. And that's a space which some people need to start their love of football in. Yes. Because at some stage it turns into almost like a life or death nature with football.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's not for the faint of heart, as, Kel, you know yourself. As you know yourself. But, yeah, it means so much. Like, I've tried to take my daughters to as many of these games as possible, and my son as well, because he needs to realise, you know, there's more to this world and more to the sport than, say, people realise. But when you do see it, Like, it's absolutely incredible.
It really is. Well, that feels just like the perfect note to finish it on. And to everyone who came to the Etihad Stadium and was part of that history-making attendance, massive thank you for coming out, and massive thank you to all of you for watching. So we're going to be next up. You can see in the bottom of our screen, of course, once the World Cup finishes, we'll be turning our attentions back, well, to the League Cup first for Liverpool and then the Premier League. But before that, we have got a friendly against, of course, a sister club here, part of the CFG Girona. We're going to be taking them on. So you can join us. We'll be live on all our streaming channels, and on Recast you can watch the full game as well. And we're going to leave you with some festive cheer and spirit, because, as you know, our City in the Community project is massive. It's been going for years and has done so much for the local community in all the time it's been around. And this year, of course, around Christmas, we're giving our giving campaign, and Manchester City have very kindly said they're going to match any donation up to £75,000. So if we can raise £75,000, the club are also going to add another £75,000 to the pot, which will then go, of course, to helping so many people in the community. And not just that, if you're coming here on a game day, any item of clothing sold in the shop, £5 of that will go into our City in the Community fund. So it might be worth getting a few Christmas presents while you're there as well. Or you can just go to www.mancity.com/community. We're going to leave you with a little VT, little special one with Scott Carson involved. But before I do that, massive thank you to Nedum Onuoha, massive thank you to Karen Bardsley as always, and thank you to you. Have a lovely weekend, and I'll see you very soon. Good night. Afternoon.
Right, look at me. Right, have you enjoyed the tour so far? Have you enjoyed all the facts? Yeah? Are you glad to be with Man City?
Yeah.
What do you think of the players?
Go.
Who's your favourite player?
Kevin De Bruyne.
Oh, what about Rodri? I thought he was a good player, is he?
Alright.
No? Of course he's a good player.
He's a very good player.
You better tell him.
You better tell him back.
Surprise!
Surprise.
Hey,
How are you?
Rodri.
Good.
How are you? So, now who's your best player?
Still Kevin De Bruyne.
Oh, come on.
Come on, guys, all looking this way. Ready? Take it to square the camera. This one.
I think we've got a surprise for you.
Yeah.
We're going to take it to the club shop and you can pick one thing, anything that you want.
What do you like?
Haaland shirt. Carson shirt. Oh, Haaland. Oh.
You want Haaland?
They want a Haaland shirt? Yeah?
Yeah. You can take all of them and collect them. Yeah.
Oh, you going for that one?
Yeah.
I like that one.
It's
That one's already got Haaland on. Same size?
You can wait. Oh, you can grab it. Come on, take it. Take it.
Right, we're looking this way.